Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to create a Ubuntu instance in Microsoft Azure Cloud Platform and then connect to the instance over the internet. First I will go to portal.azure.com and then I will log in with my account. I'm at the home page of the portal. I can start by selecting create a resource. Also, I can go to the dashboard and then I can select create resource. So I will select create a resource. Here it shows the popular products and that also includes Ubuntu. An instance is a compute resource, so I can also go to compute and select Ubuntu from there. So select Ubuntu. I'm using Azure for Students account, so the subscription category available to me is Azure for Student. You might have a different type of account. However, the process of creating an instance will be the same. For the resource group, I can create a new one or I can use an existing one. I have a temporary resource group that I created before, so I will select this one. If you want to create a new one, you can select create and then type in the resource name. Since I already have the temp resource group name, it's not allowing me to create a new one. Anyway, so I will select temp. For virtual machine name, I will choose Ubuntu 20.04. For the region, I will keep the default. If you are creating an instance for production environment, you may choose a different region based on the location of the users of the instance. Similarly, for availability options, you can choose different zones. I will keep the default. I will keep security type as standard. For the image, I will select Ubuntu Server 20.04. There is also 18.04. Azure Spot Instance allows you to get unused resources at a discounted rate. I'm gonna leave it as it is. And for the size, it shows the pricing options per month. As I am using Azure for Students, the charge will be paid by the credit that I get for this account. I will leave the standard 2 virtual CPU and 8 GB of memory option. Next, for the authentication type, I will choose SSH Public Key and I will be able to connect to this instance using SSH. After the instance is created, I will get the option to download this public key. Here I have the username as Azure user. Since I did not create an SSH public key before, I will choose the option generate a new key pair. And for the key pair name, I will leave the default as Ubuntu 20.04_key. For inbound ports, I will select allow selected ports and that will select the port 22 for SSH. If I choose none, then I will not be able to connect to this instance directly over the internet. So I will go the next option, disks. At the top of the screen, you can see different tabs such as disks, networking management, and so on. The wizard will go through all these tabs. Now for the disk, since I'm using this for a test purpose and not for a production environment, I will go with a low performance disk such as standard HDD. When I remove the instance, that will also delete the disk, so I will keep this checked. For encryption type, I will leave the default. A virtual machine comes with the system disk, operating system, but you may need additional disk space if you create a lot of data and want to save the data in a different disk. In that case, you can attach data disk. Since I'm using a test environment, I'm not going to attach a data disk. So I go next to networking. It is going to create a virtual network named temp vnet, and I will keep the default. It is going to use the 10 network for private IP, and I will keep this as default. For public IP, it will create a new IP, and I will be able to access this instance through the IP that will be assigned. For security group, I will keep the basic, the default, and for inbound ports, I will select the option port number 22, which is for SSH connection. Because public IP is considered as resource and it is not free, so when I delete this instance, I want to delete the public IP as well. So I will select the option delete public IP and NIC when VM is deleted. Accelerated networking gives you better performance. I can use load balancer when I have multiple virtual machines for the same purpose. So I am not using this load balancer option here. So I go to the management. Next, I will keep the monitoring boot diagnostics as default. I'm not using Azure Active Directory, so I will leave this one. If I don't use the virtual machine at night, I can automatically shut down the virtual machine. In that case, I will select Enable Auto Shutdown and select a specific time for shutting down the virtual machine. You might want to get a report of shutdown by email, or you might opt this out. Also, I can enable backup. I'm going to leave it as default. So I go to next, advanced. Here I can add extensions. The extensions allows you to automate and configure after the installation or post deployment. I can also choose different VM applications. I'm going to leave those as default, means not including any of those. And then I go to tags. I can categorize different resources by attaching tags. So all resources that has the exact tag name value pair will be categorized in one category, and I can easily find those resources of one category by using a tag. If I want to tag, I need to put a name. For example, let's say OS, and then I will use Ubuntu. So any resource that has OS as the tag name and Ubuntu as the tag value will be under one group of resources, and that can be found easily by using this tag. Next, I will go to review. It is giving an overview and showing the cost per hour. Since I'm using a student account, I will be able to pay the charge by using the free credit that I got for this account. If I scroll down, I will see the configuration that I have selected for creating this virtual machine or an instance. Now I can click on create. Here's giving me to download the private key, and I have to save this key in my computer. So I will click on download private key and create resource. As you can see, it is saving a file with .pem extension. I will save it in my local computer, and I will need this key to connect to the instance in future. So I'll click on save. It's going to take 1 or 2 minutes to finish this deployment process, and it will update the status once the deployment is complete. The deployment is complete. Now I will go to the dashboard and refresh, and I can see the instance that was created. Also, I can go to the home screen and see the instance that was created. Now I will be able to connect to this instance from any machine. First, I will connect to this Ubuntu instance from a Windows machine, and later I will also connect to this instance from a Mac machine. If I select the instance, then I can see the detailed information. For example, I can see the public IP address. Currently there is no public DNS name set up. If I want to use a public DNS name, in that case I can configure a public DNS name, or I can use public IP to connect to this instance. I can connect to this instance in different ways. For example, I can use Git for Windows, or I can use PuTTY. I will go to a new tab and then search Git for Windows. And select the item Git for Windows. Here I can download and install Git for Windows. The installation process of Git for Windows is straightforward. You run this and then go through this wizard. I already have Git for Windows installed on my computer, and that's why I'm gonna cancel this installation. Now I will go to the folder where I saved my key. I can delete this one since I have it already installed. If I right click anywhere on the file explorer, I will see an option Git GUI here or Git Bash here. I will select Git Bash here, and that gives a prompt. Here I need to type a command to connect to the Linux instance by using the key that I have downloaded. I will go back to Azure platform. Here on the instance detail page there is a connect option. I will select that option, and under the connect option I can see an SSH command. I will copy this command. Then I will go back to the Git for Windows screen and paste here, and use the private key file right here where it says private key path. So I will remove this and then type in the file name. Since I chose Git Bash here, I'm already in this folder, so I can simply use the file name. Make sure you have a space before that. So Ubuntu 20.04 underscore key.pem, and then one space, and then this was the username, Azure user @ the public IP address of the Linux instance, and then press enter. It is prompting to confirm, so I will type YES to confirm. And then I can see Ubuntu prompt, the username @ the machine name. I have logged into the Ubuntu instance, and I can use this instance the way I want. For example, I can configure different services here. I will use a simple command such as sudo apt-get and then update. That will update the instance. And I can use any other command that is applicable in Ubuntu. This was one process of connecting to the Ubuntu instance by using Git for Windows. I will exit from here by typing exit, and then I can close this window. Next, I'm going to show you how to use PuTTY to connect to this instance from Windows. I will go to a browser, then type in download PuTTY, and from PuTTY.org website, I will select download PuTTY. I will select the first download option. I'm using a 64-bit Windows 10 machine, so I will select this option and save the file. Then I will run the downloaded file, and that will start installing PuTTY, as well as this will install PuTTyGen. During the installation process, if you see an error message saying installation directory must be on a local hard drive, then close the installation wizard and open the command prompt to start the installation with a command. You will use the command msiexec /i and then the full path of the installation file, and then wixui_ don't validate path equals 1 as shown on the screen. Previously, I downloaded and installed this software, so I'm going to cancel this screen. Next, I will go to the start menu and then type in PuTTY. That opens the PuTTY configuration screen. Here I will remove the previously saved session. Under session, for the host name or public IP address, I will put the public IP of the Ubuntu machine from Azure. This was the public IP. Also, you can go to the overview and see the public IP. Anyway, so I will go back and put the IP here. Port number 22 is automatically selected and SSH is selected. Next, I will go to data and then auto logon username. I will type in Azure user. Next, I will go to SSH and then expand SSH and then select authentication OUTH. Here I will go to browse, and then I need to select a ppk file, which is a private key file. The file that I downloaded is not a ppk file, it is a PEM file. So I have to convert this PEM file to ppk file. To do that, I can use PuTTyGen, which was installed when I installed PuTTY. So I'll go to the start menu and then type in PuTTY and select PuTTyGen. From here, I will load the PEM file. So I select load and then select all files from the load private key screen, and then select the file with PEM extension that I downloaded for this Ubuntu instance and click open. I'll press on OK and then I will click on save private key and click on yes. I can use the same name as the PEM file name, however I have to keep ppk as the file extension, and then click on save. I can close PuTTyGen Now I'm still in the open private key screen, and if I go back to ppk file type, I can see the ppk file that I just converted from a PEM file. If you cancel this screen, you can always go back, and from the authentication of PuTTY screen, you select browse and select the ppk file, and then click on open. That is giving an alert, and I will select yes on this screen. The login screen opened on another screen, so I'll bring it here, and I'm logged into the Ubuntu instance. I can type in a command, hostname ctl, that gives me detailed information about this instance. Anyway, I can use this instance the way I want. I can configure different services. For example, I can configure a web server, which is Apache, or I can configure DNS server or any other type of server that is supported in Ubuntu. I will simply run a simple command, sudo apt get and update, and the update is complete. Next, I'm gonna connect to this Ubuntu instance in Azure from a Mac machine. So I will exit from here, and that closed the connection. Now I'm using a Mac machine, and I will connect to the Linux in Azure instance from this Mac machine. I will need the private key with .pem extension. I downloaded that private key in my Windows machine. I'm gonna copy the .pem file into a USB drive first, and from the USB drive into the Mac machine. This is the file, so I copy, and I'll copy here. Now I will disconnect the USB drive. I will connect the USB drive with the computer, and I'm using a virtual machine for Mac OS. So when I connect the USB drive, it will prompt me for the machine to which I want to connect this USB drive. So this time I'm going to select the virtual machine and the Mac virtual machine. So I press on OK. That will mount the USB drive into this machine, and an icon will appear on the desktop. This is the one. So I will open this one, and then this is the PM file. I'll right click and then copy. I will copy in downloads folder. So I'll paste here. If you downloaded the PM file in your Mac machine from Azure, then you don't need to perform these extra steps that I needed to do for copying the PM file from Windows to Mac. Anyway, next I will open the terminal in Mac, and I don't see the terminal in dock, so I will go to Utilities and select Terminal. This connection is very similar to the way I connected a Windows machine by using Git for Windows. I will need the SSH command to connect to the Linux instance, and I will also need the private key with .pem extension. I saved the private key in download folder, so I will go to the download folder first. Let's see where I am, and the download is right here. So I'll go to download, and if I list the files by using ls command, I can see that the .pem file is right here. I will go to the Azure portal page and go to the connect option for this instance and select the SSH command and copy that command. Similar to Git for Windows, I will use this command and the private key in Mac. So I will paste this command and then use the write key file. After I need a space, and then the key file name is right here. So I'll type in Ubuntu 20.04 underscore key.pem, and then I need to have a space, and then the username is Azure user @ the public IP of the Linux instance in Azure. I can press enter. I will confirm by typing yes. The command output is showing bad permission or permission denied, and the reason is that the key file that I'm using doesn't have the permission. So I'm gonna give the permission to the key file by using chmod command. I will use chmod 400 and then the key file name, which is Ubuntu 20.04 underscore key.pm, and this is the file name. So I press enter, and there was no error message, so the permission is granted. Now I should use the SSH command once again. So I press enter and I expect a connection, and I am connected to the Ubuntu instance in Azure. Now I can use this machine the way I want. I can use different commands. I can configure different services. I will use a simple command, sudo apt-get update, and the command was successful. I can configure this machine for different services such as web server, DNS server, DHCP server, database server, and so on. If you are interested to know how to configure those services, you may take a look at the videos available in my YouTube channel. After you completed working with the virtual machine in Azure, you have to decide whether you should keep the virtual machine or not. If you want to use the virtual machine in near future, you may want to keep the virtual machine. However, you should keep it shut down. If you do not want to use the virtual machine in near future, you should remove the virtual machine. Otherwise, it will cause bill to your account, and the free credit that you get in your student account will be wasted. Anyway, any resource in cloud environment that you don't want to use, you should always shut it down or remove permanently. I can see the resources from the home menu. If I go to the home screen in Azure, I will see the recent resources. It doesn't show all the resources. So I will go to the all resources option, and there I should see all of the resources. Here's the virtual machine that I created. Here's the public IP address that the virtual machine is using. There's the disk file that the virtual machine is using. When configuring the virtual machine, I selected the option to remove the public IP and the disk when I remove the virtual machine. So if I remove this virtual machine, that will delete the public IP as well as the virtual disk. I will show that option first. So I will select delete and type in yes. When the deletion is complete, I will expect the public IP will be gone, the disk will be gone. Of course, I can delete all of the resources at a time by selecting all of this and then select the delete option. I will refresh this screen to see if it was already deleted. Refresh again. The virtual machine is gone. The public IP and disk are still here. They are being deleted. I will refresh again, and they're gone. Now some other resources I still have left. As I'm not going to use these resources, I will delete all of these. So I will select all resources and then select delete option and type in yes and delete. All of the resources have been removed. And that is the end of this video. I hope you found this video was helpful. If you would like to receive notifications on future videos, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and set up notifications by tapping on the bell. Thank you for watching.